Can I tell you something nobody in personal finance is brave enough to say out loud? The reason most people are broke isn't because they don't make enough money. It's because being good with money looks embarrassing. You're at dinner and the bill comes and someone says, "Should we just split it?" And you think, "I had a salad and water and you guys got appetizers and cocktails." But you say nothing, because saying something feels cheap. That is the trap. And it has nothing to do with math. It has everything to do with how we think wealth is supposed to look. Here's what I've found after really studying people who actually have money. Not people who look like they have money. The ones genuinely building wealth share habits that, on the surface, look completely unimpressive. No fancy plays. Just boring, quiet things done consistently. And those boring things are stacking serious money. Today, I'm walking you through 10 of them. Pay attention not just to what they are, but why they feel so hard to do. Because once you get that part, they get a lot easier. Let's start with the one that'll probably surprise you most. Number 1, they stopped buying the fantasy. Americans spend around $100 billion on lottery tickets every year. More than they spend on books, video games, movies, and music combined. And I genuinely understand the appeal. You spend $2 and for the next 48 hours, you get to imagine paying off your parents' house, quitting your job, taking that trip. For $2, you get to live in that feeling for a while. And that feeling is really nice. But here's what gets me. The people who buy the most lottery tickets are statistically the ones who can least afford to. Households earning under $30,000 spend about $412 a year on tickets on average. That's not $2 here and there. That's a recurring expense that gets treated as totally normal. And the reason makes sense. When building wealth the traditional way feels out of reach, the lottery starts to feel like the only realistic path. Why save $50 a month for 40 years when you could win tomorrow? That thinking is completely understandable. And it's exactly what keeps people stuck. The odds of winning a major jackpot are 1 in 292 million. Take that same $412 a year, put it into a basic index fund instead, and over 30 years, that's around $50,000. Not $400 million, but $50,000 that actually shows up. The lottery sells a fantasy. The people who build real wealth stopped paying for the fantasy and started building something real. And that same pattern, spending on things that feel good but quietly drain you, shows up in a really unexpected place next. Number 2, they eat the same meals every week. Picture this. It's Sunday, you're feeling motivated, you go to the grocery store inspired. You grab salmon, kale, fancy mushrooms, fresh herbs. You spend $180 and feel great. Tuesday comes, you're tired from work, you heat up leftover rice. The salmon's still there. Thursday, long day, you order DoorDash, not touching that salmon tonight. Sunday again. The salmon's gone gray. The kale is soggy. The herbs are basically liquid. You throw it all out, feel guilty, and go back to the grocery store and do the exact same thing. The average family of 4 throws away $1,500 in food every single year. Not eats, throws away. It's not because people are careless. It's because they're shopping for a version of themselves that cooks elaborate meals on a Tuesday night after work. That person doesn't really exist. People who are good with money just shop for who they actually are. 4 or 5 meals the household genuinely eats, rotated every week. Chicken stir-fry, pasta, taco night, the thing everyone finishes. Same grocery list, more or less. Nothing that expires before you get to it. Once you start doing this, something clicks. You already know what you're making Monday. You already know what you're buying Sunday. Your grocery bill drops, not because you're eating sad food, but because you stopped buying for a fantasy version of yourself. Number 3, they treat cash like a tool. Here's something counterintuitive. People who are really good with money keep a chunk of it sitting in cash, not invested, not in the market, just sitting there. And I know what you're thinking. That's lazy. Why leave money doing nothing when it could be growing? But when the market drops 30% and you have zero cash anywhere, what happens? You panic. Your day-to-day expenses are coming out of an account that's bleeding. So you sell at the worst possible time. You lock in the loss and miss the entire recovery. That's not a market problem. That's a cash problem. The people who don't panic during crashes aren't just emotionally stronger. They have a buffer. 1 to 2 years of living expenses sitting somewhere safe, specifically so that when everything goes sideways, they don't have to touch their investments at all. They just keep living normally while everyone else makes decisions out of fear. Think of it like insurance. You pay for it every month, and most months nothing happens and it feels like wasted money. But the month you need it, you're so relieved it's there. Cash isn't laziness. Cash is what buys you the ability to make calm decisions when everything around you is chaotic. Number 4, they pay themselves first. Most people handle money like this. Get paid, pay rent, pay bills, pay the credit card, look at what's left, maybe save some of it. The problem? There's never anything left. Because we just spend it. Not on anything dramatic, just on life. Lunch here, a thing you needed there, a few nights out, and suddenly it's the end of the month and you're like, where did it go? I did this for years. The people who actually build savings figured out you have to flip the whole thing around. The moment your paycheck hits, before rent, before anything, a set amount goes straight into savings or investments automatically. You never see it in your checking account. It just goes. And then whatever's left is what you live on. And here's what's wild. You actually do live on it. Your brain adjusts to the smaller number the same way it always expanded to fill the bigger one. You're not relying on willpower. You make one decision once, set up the transfer, and the saving happens every month whether you're being disciplined or not. Number 5, they give every dollar a job. Most people check their bank account and it's just a number. High number, feel good. Low number, feel stressed. Spend money, number goes down, feels bad even when you can completely afford it. That feeling comes from treating your balance like a scoreboard. And it's the reason spending always feels like losing. Here's what I mean. Say you have $8,000 in your account and want to book a $2,000 vacation. Most people feel weird guilt about it even though they can afford it, because it feels like losing points. But what if that $8,000 wasn't one big pile? What if $2,000 was already the travel fund? $3,000 was the emergency cushion you don't touch? And $3,000 was next month's expenses? Now, when you book that trip, you're not losing anything. You're using money that was always for exactly that. That's what giving every dollar a job means. You don't need 50 spreadsheet tabs. You just decide what each chunk is for. Emergencies, travel, investments you won't touch for a decade, kids eventually. And spending stops feeling like failure because every dollar already has a direction. Number 6, they stopped shopping to kill time. You're waiting for your food to heat up, or in bed and can't sleep yet, and you just pick up your phone. Not looking for anything, just browsing. Something catches your eye. It's not expensive. You kind of want it. Card's already saved, address is already in there, 2 taps and it's done. 3 days later, a package arrives and you feel a flicker of excitement, and then it's just a thing you own. 2 weeks later, you've forgotten about it completely. That's not shopping. That's what happens when you're bored and your phone is in your hand. These apps are designed to remove every barrier between you and spending money. Saved card, saved address, no moment to pause and think. Frictionless on purpose. Research shows people spend 15 to 30% more shopping online than in person. Because in person, you have to drive, park, walk, carry the thing, stand in line. That friction is annoying but useful. Most of what you wanted for 10 minutes while scrolling, you'd never bother driving to a store for it. Delete the apps. Remove saved card details. Make non-essentials in person only. You'll stop buying a lot of things, not because you're disciplined, just because the friction is enough to make you forget about it. Number 7, they know exactly what they spend. Do you actually know how much you spent last month? Not roughly. Not, I think it was around. The actual number. Most people don't. And the reason is, some part of them doesn't want to know. Like, if you don't look, it can't stress you out. But the number you can't see is the one running your life. I have a friend who was convinced she was spending around $3,500 a month. Felt pretty careful, cooking at home most nights. She sat down, went through her bank statements, and it was closer to $5,200. Not from anything dramatic. Just coffees, a few online orders, dinners out, subscriptions she forgot about, one thing for the house, normal life stuff. But it was $1,700 more than she thought every single month. That's $20,000 a year she had no idea was leaving. Once she saw it, she could do something about it. That's the whole point. The number isn't there to make you feel bad. It's there so you're actually in control. Go through last month's bank statement. What were your fixed costs? What did everything else come to? Just those two numbers. That's your floor and your variable. Once you have that, you know what you're actually working with. Number 8, they build small margins everywhere. Here's the thing that becomes clear once you know your number. Your income is not what determines whether you build wealth. The gap between what you make and what you spend is. You can make $200,000 a year with no gap and be broke. You can make $60,000, protect a solid gap, and genuinely build something. The gap is everything. And the gap usually doesn't come from one dramatic decision. It comes from a bunch of small, boring ones that feel insignificant on their own. Making coffee at home instead of buying it, $1,500 to $2,000 back a year. Packing lunch instead of buying it, another $2,000 to $3,000. Not refreshing your wardrobe every season, another $1,000 or more. Stack all of those together and you're looking at $13,000 to $22,000 more annually than the average American is keeping. Invested consistently over 25 years at normal market returns, that's $1.2 million. From coffee and lunch and not buying clothes you didn't need. The boring decisions stack. The stack compounds. And the compound changes everything. Number 9, they find a hobby that can make money. 65% of self-made millionaires have at least 3 income streams. And when most people hear that, they picture someone working 3 jobs and never sleeping. But that's not what it means. A lot of people already have something in their downtime that could eventually make money. They're just not thinking about it that way. Into fitness and documenting your workouts anyway? That's a YouTube channel. Genuinely good at something at your job that others in your industry struggle with? That's consulting. Good at writing, making things, or know a topic really well? There's a platform for that. The infrastructure already exists. You just have to show up to it. Even 1 to 5 hours a week on something that eventually generates $300 to $500 extra monthly changes the math significantly. That money goes straight into savings and investments. The compounding speeds up because there's just more fuel going in. And here's the underrated part. When your hobby is something you're building, it costs nothing. When your hobby is consuming stuff, scrolling, browsing, it usually costs money. The switch helps on both ends at the same time. Number 10, they stay invested and don't touch it. It's March 2020. The market has dropped 30% in a matter of weeks. It's everywhere, the news, social media, everyone's talking about it. You open your investment account and watch a number that took years to build just dropping. Every single day. Everything inside you says do something. Move it somewhere safe. Get out and wait until it feels calm again. But here's what happened to the people who did that. They sold at the bottom. The market recovered faster than almost anyone expected and they missed the entire thing. By the time it felt safe to get back in, most of the recovery was already gone. The people who came out of 2020 in great financial shape were the ones who did nothing. Left everything where it was, kept their contributions going, didn't touch it. They got the full recovery plus everything that came after. The biggest market gains almost always come right after the scariest drops. But you only get them if you're still in when they happen. Most people aren't, because they left when it felt like the smart thing to do. Consistent contributions, automatic, hands-off, riding through everything. That's what builds the number. Not clever moves, not perfect timing, just staying in. None of these habits are impressive. None of them are the kind of thing you bring up at dinner and have people lean in. Most of them you'd never mention because they make you sound careful. And somewhere along the way, we decided careful means you're losing. But look at what the exciting path actually produces. 78% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. The average person unable to cover a $1,000 emergency. People working into their late 60s not because they want to, but because they never built anything that could support them without them showing up every day. The boring path is the people who quietly built the gap, kept their investments in, paid themselves first, and stopped buying fantasies. They're not the most interesting ones at the table, but they're the ones with real options. The kind where you choose how you spend your time because you don't desperately need the next paycheck. The habits that feel like sacrifice in year 1 feel like freedom in year 10. And be honest with yourself for a second. Not with me, with yourself. How many of these are you actually doing right now? Because there's a version of you that watches this, nods along, thinks, yeah, that makes sense, and then closes the tab and changes nothing. Don't be that person. Scroll down right now, drop a comment, tell me which one of these you're starting this week. I'm in the comments right now and I want to know.